It began on the coldest night in 100 years. Earth was quiet, peaceful, unaware that high above, in the black silence of orbit, a foreign fleet shimmered into view. The ships were silent, silver, and alive with eerie blue veins that pulsed, like breathing skin. The world below slept as something alien watched. She was not a soldier. Her kind didn't fight. They commanded others to fight for them, but this mission was different. Princess Sira of the Varelian Dominion had been forced to come herself, not for diplomacy, not for conquest, but for one reason: heat. Her people were dying in the frost storms of their dying planet. They needed warmth, not fire, not machines. They needed what humans unknowingly carried inside them: heat. "Drop me now," she ordered. Her voice was soft, but it held weight. Single pod detached from the mothership and fell into Earth's dark clouds. Her body trembled inside it, not from fear, but from the chill already creeping into her bones. Her species was made for ice, but not like this. This was death cold. When the pod crashed in the forest, she didn't scream. She opened the hatch and crawled out, snow crunching beneath her. Her skin, pale and glowing faintly blue, was already turning gray. Her breath was mist. Her heart rate slowed. She had minutes before frostbite would take her limbs. Then she saw him. He was alone. A man with a heavy coat, dragging firewood through the snow. He wasn't tall. He wasn't muscular. But to her, he was burning, glowing. His body steamed faintly in the cold. To her alien eyes, he looked like a walking star. Sira fell forward. Her legs gave out. Her arms barely caught her fall. The human heard the noise. He turned, startled, then froze. A woman. Not human. White-haired, skin shimmering like frost. Eyes glowing. And completely collapsed in his direction. She tried to speak. Her mouth wouldn't move. Her lips were numb. Her hand reached out weakly. He hesitated only a moment. Then he dropped the wood and ran to her. He pulled off his coat and wrapped her in it. His arms held her close. She gasped. The warmth hit her like lightning. "You're burning," she whispered, voice cracking like ice. Her eyes locked on his. "Keep me warm, Earthling. I'll repay you with my body," she said, desperate and near delirium. He blinked. What? But she had already fainted. He didn't know what she was. But he wasn't going to let anyone freeze to death in his woods. Not even a glowing alien girl. He lifted her up. She was light, too light. Her body trembled like paper. He carried her to his cabin and didn't look back. The fire was already crackling when he laid her down. He set her near the hearth, covered her in blankets, and made tea even though he doubted she drank it. He placed a wet cloth on her forehead. She stirred. Her eyelids fluttered. Her skin slowly turned from gray to blue again when she opened her eyes. They glowed brighter than before. She looked around slowly. Her voice was soft. "Is this your nest?" He chuckled. "Sort of. It's my home." She reached for his arm. Her fingers touched his skin. She gasped. "You're radiating heat, like a star. You could save my whole species." He looked confused. "What are you talking about?" She sat up slowly. Her white hair fell over her shoulders. "You have warmth. It comes from inside. We can't generate it. We must take it. Borrow it. You're like a living heater." He laughed nervously. "Well, I guess that's one way to put it." Her eyes scanned the room. Everything was strange to her. The stone fireplace, the soft rug, the wooden shelves. "You live alone?" He nodded. "Just me. I like the quiet." Her voice became serious. "Then no one will stop me. I must stay near you, close, touching. Why? I need to survive. My body needs yours." For warmth, he looked at her closely. She wasn't threatening him. She wasn't even strong enough to lift a log. She looked young, scared, but determined. There was something regal in her posture. But more than that, something broken beneath. I'm not here to hurt you, she said. But I won't leave either. Not until I'm strong again. He shrugged. Then stay, I'm not going anywhere, she blinked. You're accepting me? Wouldn't be the first strange thing to wander in from the snow. She stared at him. You saved my life. My people don't forget things like that. Good, he said with a small smile. Then maybe we'll get along. She crawled closer to the fire and sat beside him. She leaned against his side, clearly absorbing his warmth. Her skin had stopped shivering. Her breathing was normal again. For a while, neither of them said anything. Only the fire spoke. Then she whispered, My name is Sira. I was sent to study your species, to harvest warmth. My mission was to find out if humans could be used as fuel. He didn't move. And now? She looked at him. Now I'm not sure. You didn't treat me like fuel. You treated me like someone. You are someone. She leaned her head on his shoulder. This changes everything. He looked down at her. You sure your people won't come looking? Her eyes darkened. They might. But I don't care. I'm staying here. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, the alien girl slept against the human man's side. Her body slowly healed. Her mind slowly softened. Her mission had failed. But something new had begun, and somewhere above, a second pod detached silently from the mothership, heading straight for the cabin below, asterisk. When the second pod crashed into the frozen forest, it did not arrive gently. It ripped through tree branches and sent a pulse of energy through the snow-covered ground. Unlike Sira's soft landing, this pod had a purpose, to retrieve or eliminate her. Inside the cabin, the fire burned low. The man, his name was Joel, was cutting more wood behind the house when he heard the impact. He looked up. The sound wasn't thunder, it was metal and speed. He dropped the axe and ran back toward the cabin. Sira was already awake. Her breathing had changed. Her body trembled again, not from cold but from alarm. Her hand pressed against the window, eyes glowing faintly. She knew what that sound meant. Her people had sent a retrieval team. Or worse, they found me, she whispered. I shouldn't have slept so long. Joel burst through the door. That sound. That was another one of your ships, wasn't it? She nodded. They're here for me. Or to erase me. I broke the mission rules by revealing myself to a human. Joel closed the door and locked it, even though he knew locks meant nothing against aliens. Are they dangerous? Sira looked at him. Yes, to you. Maybe to me too. He handed her a heavy jacket. Then we stay warm and stay quiet. If they're looking for you, they'll search the forest first. She slipped the jacket on, her hands trembling. They can smell heat, like I did. If they get close, they'll know I'm here. Joel looked at the fire. Then we need to kill the heat. She stared at him in horror. But I'll freeze. He stepped closer. Not if you stay next to me. We can put out the fire. Use body heat. Blankets. We'll manage. Her eyes widened. You would share your warmth again? You said you needed it, didn't you? She nodded slowly. Her expression was unreadable. Yes, I still do. Together they smothered the fire. The cabin dimmed. The shadows grew longer. Joel pulled out thick blankets and laid them on the floor. He sat with his back against the wall and opened one arm. Sira hesitated for a moment. Then she crawled into the blanket and curled against him. Her cheek pressed to his chest. She could feel his heart, steady and warm. Her fingers clutched the fabric of his shirt. Outside, faint footfalls broke the snow. Something heavy moved through the trees. Silent, patient, not human. The retrieval unit had landed and begun its search. They moved like ghosts, scanning for thermal signatures in the cold. Sira's breath quickened. They're close. Joel held her tighter. Then stay still. One of the creatures passed by the window. Its shape was strange. Long limbs. glowing eyes. It paused for a moment, sniffed the air, then moved on. Sierra whispered, "They didn't detect us." "You masked my heat," Joel whispered back. "I'm good at camping." She smiled weakly. "You're more than good." The footsteps moved away. For now they were safe. Joel didn't loosen his grip. Sierra didn't move. She felt warmer now. Not just in body, but in thought. She was starting to trust him. And trust was rare among her kind. "My people don't understand humans," she said. "We think of you as simple, weak, but you're not." Joel chuckled quietly. "We're stubborn. That's different." "You're dangerous too," she added. "But not in the way we expected. How did you expect us to be? Primitive, easy to control. But your kindness is what's dangerous. It changes people." Joel said nothing. His hand gently rested against her back. He didn't have words for what he felt. She was strange, cold, glowing. And yet, in this moment, she felt human. Sierra closed her eyes. "When this is over, I'll have to choose. Return to them or stay with you." Joel's voice was calm. "You'll choose when the time comes. Until then, you're safe here." She didn't answer. But her hand slowly moved into his. It was small, cold, and trembling. He squeezed gently. In the dark forest, one of the alien scouts stopped walking. It tapped a communicator on its wrist. A new order had arrived. The girl was not to be retrieved. She was compromised. She was to be eliminated. Scout turned back toward the cabin with new intent. The wind picked up outside, scattering snow across the cabin roof. Inside, Sierra's body pressed tightly against Joel's, hidden beneath blankets. The fire was cold, the room dim, but her skin had returned to its soft blue tone. Her breathing was slow and steady. Joel had not slept. He kept his eyes on the dark corners of the cabin, listening for anything unnatural. The silence was too clean, too careful, as if something outside was deliberately making no sound. Suddenly, Sierra stirred. Her eyes opened wide. "They're coming," she whispered. "I feel it. One of them has orders to kill me." Joel didn't hesitate. He stood and crossed the room to grab his old hunting rifle. It wasn't alien grade, but it was solid steel and had saved his life more than once. He handed Sierra a thick coat and nodded toward the cellar door. "Go down there and stay quiet," he said. "There's a trapdoor under the rug. It's cold, but you'll be safe." She looked at him. "What about you?" "I'll slow them down if they come inside." "You can't win against them." "I don't have to win. I just have to give you time." Sierra didn't argue. She moved quickly, lifting the rug and crawling into the trapdoor. The hatch closed silently. Joel pulled the rug back over it and stepped into the center of the room. The front door exploded inward. A tall figure entered. Its body was armored with silver plates. Its head was elongated, and its eyes glowed with pulsing green light. Its arms split into 3 clawed appendages. It scanned the room slowly, searching. Joel didn't move. He aimed the rifle at the creature's chest. "You're not welcome here." The alien paused. Its head tilted slightly. Then it took one step forward. Joel fired. The shot echoed like thunder. The round hit the alien's shoulder and sparked off the armor. The creature staggered but didn't fall. It roared, high and piercing, and charged at him. Joel rolled to the side, slamming into the kitchen table. He reached for another shell, but the alien swiped the gun away with one arm and knocked him flat with the other. Pain exploded in Joel's chest. From beneath the floorboards, Sierra heard the crash. Her breath caught in her throat. She pressed her hands against the wood, her voice shaking. "Joel," she whispered, "you promised I'd be safe." She closed her eyes and focused. She was weak, but not helpless. Her people had trained her to control heat, to draw it from other sources. She reached inward and pulled at the last. warmth in her bones. Her body began to glow faintly again. Upstairs, the alien grabbed Joel by the collar and raised him off the ground. Joel kicked, trying to free himself. His fingers searched for anything he could use. Then the creature stopped. The trapdoor burst open. Sira floated upward, her body surrounded by a shimmering aura of blue-white light. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, and her skin crackled with radiant energy. She looked directly into the alien's eyes. "Touch him again," she said, "and I will freeze every cell in your body." The creature hesitated. It didn't fear death. But this wasn't the fragile scout it expected. This was royal blood. Varelian elite. Her presence triggered protocols it couldn't override. It released Joel and took a step back. Sira landed softly on the wooden floor. Joel collapsed behind her, coughing. She held out one hand toward the intruder. The air around her hand turned white. Frost spread across the cabin walls. The alien began to freeze in place. "You betrayed our mission," the alien said, its voice metallic. "You side with the warm blood. I choose my own path," Sira replied. "And he is more than warm blood, he is life." With a final push, she unleashed the cold. The creature's body froze solid, its arms locked mid-motion. Its core stopped glowing. Then it shattered into dust. Sira dropped to her knees. Her glow faded. Her breath came in short bursts. Joel crawled toward her and wrapped her in a blanket again. "You're insane," he said with a cough. "But thank you." She looked up at him, her eyes softer now. "I told you I would protect you." He nodded. "Yeah, but next time, let me try first." She smiled and leaned into him again. "There may be more." "I figured," he replied. "But now we know how to fight back." Sira rested her head against his shoulder. For the first time in her life, she felt proud of her decision. Proud that she disobeyed. Proud to protect instead of conquer. Outside, the snow began to fall heavier, covering the shattered remains of the invader. But high above the clouds, the Varelian command ship had received her defiance, and they were not pleased. The cabin smelled of frozen dust and burnt wood. Joel wrapped another blanket around Sira's shoulders while the last flickers of her radiant power faded from the air. She leaned into him, weak but awake. Her fingers trembled slightly as they touched his hand. "You burned yourself using that power," Joel said. "You shouldn't have done it." "I had to," Sira replied softly. "He would have killed you." Joel looked at her closely. "So would your people. If they think you've betrayed them." "They don't think," she said. "They know. The moment I used my energy to defend a human, I became a traitor." Joel stood and picked up the pieces of his broken rifle. "How long before more of them come?" Sira looked toward the window. "Soon. That was just a scout. The real hunters are next." Joel ran a hand through his hair. "Then we need to disappear. They'll find this place again." Sira stood slowly. Her legs were weak, but her balance returned. "I know a cave not far from here. My pod scanned the area when I landed. It's deep and shielded from thermal tracking. Can you make it?" "With your help," she said, "and warmth." Joel packed food, water, a flashlight, and whatever supplies they could carry. They didn't speak much. The air between them had changed. Something had bonded them beyond fear. A sense of silent agreement. They left just before dawn. The snow was light, but the wind cut sharp. Joel carried most of the supplies. Sira walked beside him, wrapped in layers of blankets and human warmth. Her silver hair shimmered against the gray sky. They didn't use trails. Sira led through a twisting route in the woods. Joel trusted her. She moved like she could feel the landscape breathing. Hours passed before she stopped in front of a rocky hillside covered in thorns and moss. "Here," she said. "Behind this growth is a narrow path. It leads underground." Joel followed her through the thick vines and ducked under a hanging root. Beyond the veil, there was a tunnel of stone. Cold, damp, but dark enough to hide them. They slipped inside and closed the opening behind them. The deeper they walked, the quieter the world became. Joel's boots scraped stone. Syrah's bare feet made no sound. The cave eventually widened into a dome-like chamber. At the center was a pool of still water. Its surface was black as space. "We can stay here," Syrah said. "It's safe. And I can use the minerals to recharge." Joel set down the supplies. He looked around. "It's not cozy, but it works." Syrah knelt by the pool and placed her hand on the surface. A ripple of faint blue energy spread outward. "This place is old. It remembers warmth. I can draw from it if needed." Joel sat on a rock and rubbed his hands together. "We'll need a small fire. No smoke. Just enough to stay alive," she nodded. "But only when they're not near." That night, they made a fire with dry moss and tiny twigs. It flickered low, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Syrah curled beside Joel, her body stealing his. Heat without shame. Her head rested near his chest. "Why did you really come to Earth?" Joel asked. Syrah hesitated. "The official mission was research. Find heat sources, map human cities." "But the truth is worse." Joel watched her closely. "What truth?" "Our world is dying. We've lost the core heat. We need a replacement. And the Council believes humans can be drained without dying. They wanted me to test it." Joel's fists clenched. "You were sent to feed off us like batteries?" She nodded. "I refused. I didn't tell them, but I knew the plan was wrong. I wanted to see humans myself. And when I found you, I saw what they never could." "And what was that?" "You give warmth without being forced. You share without demand. You risk yourself for someone you don't even understand." Joel looked away. "Not everyone would." "But you did," she said. "And now I can't return to who I was." The fire dimmed as she whispered the words. Joel didn't speak. Instead, he leaned closer, wrapping the blanket tighter around both of them. The warmth between them was more than survival now. It was choice. Far above the Earth, in orbit, the Varelian Command issued a new directive. Princess Syrah was to be hunted and erased. Not just for betrayal, but for what she might reveal to humanity. They feared her heart more than her power. The cave stayed silent through the night. A thick layer of frost grew over the stone walls, but the small fire kept Joel and Syrah alive. She had fallen asleep beside him, her head resting against his chest. Her breathing was soft, her fingers gently curled into his shirt. Joel didn't sleep. His eyes were open, watching the flicker of the flame. He had fought off invaders before, but nothing like this. Not aliens. Not a frozen death from above. And certainly not while protecting a girl who was never supposed to care about humans. When morning came, Syrah stirred slowly. Her body was still cold, but her strength had returned. She sat up and stared into the fire, her eyes full of worry. "They'll come here," she whispered. "They always find what they want." Joel nodded. "Then we make it hard for them." Syrah turned to him. "You'd still fight, even now?" "You're here," he said simply. "That's enough reason." She stood and stretched her arms, drawing energy from the air. Frost misted around her fingers. "Then I need to teach you how to survive them. How to fight back their kind." Joel raised an eyebrow. "You're going to train me?" "I was trained by the Dominion's elite guard," she said. "I never used it before. But now I want you to know everything I do." And so the days passed. Inside the hidden cave, the human and the alien princess began preparing for war. Joel learned how to feel heat in the wind, how to use silence as a shield. Syrah showed him how to move without sound, how to read the glow of approaching energy. She taught him where to strike if cornered by a Varelian soldier. where their armor cracked, where their vision failed, where their pride made them slow. In return, Joel showed her how to survive like a human, how to cook on stone, how to make traps from branches, how to turn a cave into a home. They trained side by side, and they laughed more than they expected. The tension melted each time she smiled at him. Each time he handed her something warm, a cup of soup, a glove, a word of comfort. One evening, after a long day of drills, they sat by the fire again. Sierra leaned her head on Joel's shoulder. The blanket wrapped around both of them. I never understood what warmth meant, she said, until I felt it without being forced. Joel looked down at her. You're not the only one who's changed. She glanced up. Do you regret saving me? Never, he replied without hesitation. She smiled and whispered, then I'll never leave your side. Suddenly, her ears twitched. Her eyes sharpened. The air had shifted. A hum moved through the stone around them. She stood up fast, heart racing. They found us. Joel stood, grabbed his knife, and tightened his jacket. How many? I can't tell, she said. But this time they aren't scouts. Heavy steps echoed from the entrance of the tunnel. Stone cracked. Ice formed. Shadows moved just beyond the wall of roots. Sierra looked at Joel, her voice firm. We make our stand here, together. Joel didn't hesitate. Let them come. She reached out and took his hand, and together, they waited in the darkness for the storm to break through. The roots at the cave entrance began to shift. They weren't moving on their own. Something from the other side was slicing through them with surgical precision. Sharp sounds echoed through the cave, metal against earth. Sierra stood with her hands glowing cold white. Joel held his blade in silence, positioned behind a boulder, just as she had taught him. The fire had been extinguished. There would be no heat signature to lead them in. The roots burst inward. 3 Varelian enforcers entered the cave. Their armor was thicker than the scouts. Their limbs were longer, and their movements more calculated. One held a tracking device which blinked green the moment it saw Sierra's shape. She didn't wait. Her hands shot forward, and a blast of frost engulfed the closest soldier. It staggered but did not fall. These units were built for resistance. They spread out instantly, forming a triangle around her. Joel moved through the shadows. He remembered her training. Watch the feet. Read the patterns. Strike where the armor parts. He lunged. His blade pierced the back joint of the second enforcer. It howled, twisted, and flung him backward against the wall. The hit knocked the air from his lungs, but he got up again. Blood dripped from his forehead, but his eyes were steady. Sierra dropped to one knee, summoning every ounce of energy she had left. Her veins lit like stars beneath her skin. The floor beneath her cracked with ice. The lead enforcer raised his weapon and charged. Joel stood in its path. He didn't flinch. He didn't raise his blade. He simply opened his arms and stepped forward. The alien struck and froze mid-motion. Sierra's hands had closed around its head. The cold surged through the armor, straight into its core. The glow in its eyes faded. It crumbled into shards before it could scream. The second enforcer turned to flee. Joel didn't allow it. He threw his knife and struck the back of its neck. The alien fell hard. Sierra finished it with a burst of freezing air that sealed its body. In seconds, the third was already trying to send a signal. Sierra tackled it. They struggled on the ground. It clawed at her with metal arms, sparks flying. She screamed as it struck her ribs. But then Joel appeared behind it and smashed a rock against its spine. Once, twice. The creature stopped, moving. Silence returned to the cave. Joel dropped to his knees, panting. His knuckles were bleeding. You all right? Sierra nodded, though. Her side bled beneath her coat. Yes, barely. He helped her to her feet. She winced but stood firm. We can't stay here anymore. The next wave will be worse. Joel looked around. Then where? She stared into the dark tunnel behind them. Deeper, there's a passage that leads to the old underground rivers. No trackers work down there. He grabbed the supplies and helped her walk. Each step was heavy. Each breath came with pain. But they moved together, deeper into the mountain's bones. Hours passed in silence. Water dripped from the stone ceiling. Strange glowing plants lit their path in faint green. Sierra's glow faded with every step, but Joel kept her steady. He didn't let her fall once. At last they found a cavern filled with heat. Steam poured from cracks in the walls. The temperature rose. Their bodies softened. Sierra collapsed beside the pool and touched the steam with her fingertips. "This place is alive," she whispered. "It remembers fire." Joel smiled and dropped beside her. "Then maybe we'll survive this after all." Sierra leaned against him, her voice trembling. "We won't just survive. We'll change everything." And far above, in orbit, the Varelian High Council received a message they never expected. The Earthling has become more than a threat. He has become her choice. The cavern pulsed with soft heat from deep within the planet. The steam that rose from the walls warmed Sierra's weakened limbs. She breathed deeply, letting the fire of Earth soothe what her frozen world never could. Joel built a fire from dry roots and set their remaining supplies around it. The air was humid now, heavy with warmth. Sierra lay beside the flame, wrapped in his coat, her wounds slowly closing as her energy returned. "I've never felt this kind of heat before," she whispered. "It doesn't just save me. It changes me." Joel knelt beside her. "You said your people take warmth, but you're learning to share it instead." She smiled, though her face showed exhaustion. "That's why they fear me now. I've chosen something they can't understand." "You chose me," he said quietly. "I chose kindness," she answered. "But yes, I chose you too." Far above, the Varelian High Council watched from orbit. Their scouts had failed. Their messages were ignored. Their protocols were broken. And now the royal heir had vanished into Earth's crust with a human male. The council debated punishment. Some demanded destruction. Others called for exile. But the decision was clear. Sierra was no longer under their control. If she rose again, it would not be as a Varelian weapon. Back in the cavern, Sierra sat up. "There's a way to end this." Joel looked at her with concern. "What do you mean?" "I can send a signal," she said. "Not to them, but to the others like me, the ones who question, the ones who doubt. If they hear my voice, they might follow." "Follow where?" "Here," she said. "To Earth, not as invaders, but as seekers, as friends." Joel didn't respond at first. Then he slowly nodded. "You're willing to risk everything for that." She took his hand. "If they see me beside you, alive, free, and warm, they'll understand." Joel helped her to her feet. She walked to the glowing wall and raised her hand. Her fingers pulsed with pale blue light. She spoke into the stone with words her kind would recognize. A language of memory, of frost and flame, of betrayal and hope. The message spread through the old channels, slipping past enemy relays. Silent, hidden, true. It carried one vision, a human and a Varelian, side by side in warmth and peace. Far across space, among frozen colonies and drifting ships, young Varelians paused and listened. They felt the pulse in their bones, something ancient, something impossible, and something they longed for. Back in the cavern, Sierra lowered her hand. "It's done." Joel placed a blanket around her shoulders. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." She leaned against him. No more missions, no more lies. Just warmth and truth. He held her close. The fire between them grew brighter, stronger, not just of survival, but of change. The war was over, not with weapons, but with the choice of one heart. And deep beneath the earth, in a cavern once filled with silence, a new future had begun.